that quote into what we're now seeing today. So in Tony fashion, I thought I'd play the William Penn quote and raise him with a St. Basil quote. A tree is known by its fruit, a man by his deeds. A good deed is never lost. He who sows courtesy reaps friendship, and he who plants kindness gathers love. Today we see Tony's kindness gathering love. We're standing in shock, just waiting for grief, trying to understand what it's all about. But I think some of it is in that his call sign, his word, again, marvellous. We can marvel at the impact of his kindness on the lives of us all. Thank you.
Hello everyone, and thank you so much for being here today. But before I start, I just thought you should all know the clothes that the police officers talked about, how he used to wear his shirt and the stubbies and joggers, he's wearing that right now. You may have noticed that we're wearing some of Dad's shirts. This is because Dad loved bright colours and believed that funerals were a celebration of life. He wasn't into all this soppy stuff. I think it's also pretty obvious to you all that our family thought Dad was the best. And I can now see that you all think he was an amazing man too. Dad taught me life lessons by setting an example. He didn't stress about things he couldn't change. He appreciated what he had, and he was happy. Through the influences of my dad and mum, I have learnt to try to be the best person I can be. And I know this made him very proud. He was a marvellous man who will be deeply missed, loved immensely, and never forgotten. Thank you.
My dad. My dad was an amazing man. He still is to this day my role model. Although your death was such a shock to all of us, you will never ever be forgotten or replaced. I don't have any idea what I'm going to do at 7 p.m. when Big Dog comes on television, because you and I used to always quote, "Big Dog's gone to bed now." Or those nights where we would just pinch, punch and poke each other all night long. Most times when you would take me to work, our song would play in the car, which was Mumford & Sons' latest hit, "I Will Wait." And everybody in New South Wales could hear us singing on the top of our lungs. Now I'm left to sing the song alone. I guess one of the biggest things I'm ever going to miss about you is when you would walk through the front door after a long, hard day at work, and I would yell, "Papa," and your response in a calm voice was, "Girlie." We both would have an unbreakable smile on our faces. Although all I have now to say is goodbye. So goodbye, Papa. You are so amazing, it's indescribable, and you better have a marvellous time up there, big fella.
My sister would also like to share the pen quote from Dad's last column. We know it's already been read out today, but the words really meant a lot to her, and she would like the opportunity to share it with you all as well.
I expect to pass through life but once. If therefore there be any kindness I can show, or any good thing I can do to any fellow human being, let me do it now, for I shall not pass this way again. In my eyes, my dad was truly the world's greatest. He was our rock, and he will never be forgotten. We will miss him dearly and love him forever. He was truly larger than life, and we did live the dream with him. I love you, Dad.
My dad was the greatest dad in the world. If I could have one wish, it would be to give him one last big hug and for him to hug me back. My mum has said to me many times over the last few days, "What am I going to do? Tony was my rock." I've continued to say to her that this is the reason she had 6 kids, to help her through the worst times in her life. We will all step into Dad's shoes together and we will be your rock now, Mum. Words will not explain how much I love you, Dad. I will miss you forever.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming today. Tony would have been absolutely chuffed if he were here today, but I'm sure he's watching now. I've always said to my family that I would never be able to speak at Tony's funeral if he ever passed away before me. I think Tony would be quite proud of me today standing up here, as he knew how much I disliked public speaking. He was always in the limelight and I was more than happy to be in the background. Anyone that knew Tony knew he had a heart of gold, but anyone that knew him really well also knew he could be such a stubborn bastard. Tony was such a funny guy that he still could make me laugh after 27 years of marriage. I'm absolutely blown away with the number of hearts he has touched in his life. He was a very humble man who never, for even 1 minute, thought he was anything special. I'm so lucky to have had him in my life. Our children have been so wonderful, as upset as they have been, to help put this celebration day together. Tony has always said that when he died one day, that he'd like to see some bright colours at his funeral, as it is a joyous occasion to celebrate a person's life. I think the big fellow upstairs was a bit sad and bored, and so he grabbed our Tony to brighten up his life and make him laugh. We all love him and miss him so much. 2 years ago, Tony and I went to Vietnam to celebrate our 25 years of marriage. So many people in Vietnam called him Happy Buddha and rubbed his tummy. He loved it. He loved that nickname. And to us, he'll always be our Happy Buddha.
Let's see. Dad, I love you very much and I will miss you so much. I hope you will have a great time in heaven. Bye, Dad. R.I.P.
Isn't this ridiculous? No joke. The past few days have been ridiculous, but this is words cannot describe. My family have been so strong. Mum being able to even public speak is just phenomenal, but public speak at her husband's funeral in front of so many people. This isn't a funeral as much as it is a celebration. For the past 24 years, my father has been imparting himself to me. In every way, shape and form, I have been the man my father made me. From the day I was born and I was named after him, to the day he died and I saw a community unite, I am the man I am today because of Tony Tamplin. And for the rest of my life, my actions and decisions will be imbued with the knowledge that my father has taught me. I'd always considered this day. I knew it was going to happen eventually, and I knew I wanted to speak. I considered where to start, what to say. I considered my family's reaction to our loss, and I ended up getting quite emotional myself. I always contemplated the same question. How do you speak about a man who spoke for a living? Of all the times I'd done this, one thing I hadn't considered was the not-so-secret life of Tony Tamplin. To myself, my siblings, my mother, and all of my family, Tony was a man. He worked hard and he loved his work. He worked hard for his family because he loved his family. And until the past few days, I thought that only would be the people that I knew. But I can see quite clearly Dad's family is Newcastle, and he worked damn hard for everyone. You've got to respect a man that took a name like Tamplin and put it on show publicly, daily, and made it what it is today. It takes a special combination, dedication, pride, humour, and a little bit of rebellion to pull off such a feat and flaunt a name so easily criticised. I knew he was very proud of himself, and the way I knew is because he hated talking about it. The quickest way to make Tony shut up was to talk about Tony. It takes that special combination to pull off the feat, but it was the humility that made the man larger than life. On Monday afternoon, as the dust was beginning to settle, I looked around the living room at my parents' house. I saw friends and family sitting on floors, tables, laps, and even chairs. Every one of them remembering Dad. They were telling stories of when he was banned from hospital for intentionally making a friend who'd had a cesarean laugh uncontrollably, causing her great pain. His endless moustache chronicles. I moustache you a question. Stories he covered about frozen chickens being launched from a homemade cannon. His appearance on Sky News with jokes about the Pasha Bolka and endless fundraising stunts. As I looked at everybody in the room, noting their differing relationships to Dad, I realised this is exactly what he did. He united people through himself. His personality was too big for his body, and it was a big body. He had too much to give for just one person, so he shared it with everyone that you let him near, and left them with so much to remember. He should have been known as the 100-sided man, and I myself only knew a few. In every face of the 100-sided man, there was one common theme: his sense of humour. Given the chance, I don't think I would have much to say if I could speak to him now. I'd probably just look him in the eye, smile, and say, "You bastard." It's just one last shit stir for the road. He'd just laugh it up. Based on what I've experienced over the past few days, the community coming together and remembering Dad, I'll be able to continue to learn from Tony Tamplin, about Tony Tamplin, from his greater Newcastle family. The hole he's left in the community is too big to be filled by one person. The police are down an officer, the Variety Kids Christmas party are down a Santa, Adamstown RSL down a snooker player, the bash goers down a brother, special needs children down a fighter, and members of the community down friends. His family are down the best man they've ever known. I called a couple he was supposed to marry in the coming weeks to break the bad news to them. They already knew. They told me that if they couldn't have Tony, it wasn't worth doing. So they went to the registry, got the paperwork drawn up, and they're turning their wedding into a party. What do you say to a response like that? I had absolutely no words. I just cried on the phone to them right there and there. My entire family has been dwarfed by the community outreach, compassion, and support. We had absolutely no idea that his influence extended so far and went so deep. There is absolutely no way I can stand up here without thanking everybody for the food, flowers, kind words, hard work, and favours they've done for us, not only over the past few days, but for the entire time they've known Dad. There is also no way that I could forget to make special mention to the police. Their immense support they've provided. You all know who you are. There's too many to name. It's clear that he was as much family to you as he was to us. Publicly, Dad would have hated a funeral. He hated people fussing over him. He would have told you all to get back to work. Now he hasn't had a day off in 35 years. Secretly, Dad would have been in tears. So proud and so loved. It's sad that it takes his death for realisations such as these to form, but that's just another life lesson from Dad's book. He's given it all, and we all know a little bit. Together we hold the whole story, and the final chapter in the book he wrote on uniting a community is this. There is no way we should let him have the last laugh. I read an absolutely touching poem that I found online. It was a dedication to Dad. And then I read the title. You know when you laugh so unexpectedly that snot just shoots from your nose? The title of the poem was An Angel in Blue, And I immediately thought, God, I hope he's not right. Otherwise, heaven's going to be so much hairier than I expected. So how do you speak about a man who spoke for a living? The way he would have. Tell it like it is, make him laugh. I don't think anyone would doubt the words out of his mouth if you could ask him now how he's doing. Thank you all for everything, and I hope you're also doing absolutely marvellous.
We have some